You are now tuned into the Truenorth.Bet football podcast, previously as a CFL podcast. I'm your host, Brandon Graham. And of course, now we're about to get into it. Once again, this is the Truenorth.Bet football podcast. I'm your host, Brandon Graham. You can find me on Twitter at Graham_JB. You can find me on Instagram at G_JB. This is in combination with Superflex Sports. Doing a really good job there, but this is Truenorth.Bet football podcast. And of course, we did last week get into a lot of CFL news and so on and so forth. But now we're going to shift towards college football and NFL football. So this is pretty much the most exciting brand of football that we do have. And I'm going to dive right into it. Okay. But Truenorth.Bet, understand you can always a bet in the right direction. It's from sports betting, live casino, esports. Make sure you're going to Truenorth.bet. And of course, casting all of your bets there, right? Live casinos, sports betting, and much more, right? Esports as well too, as we get into it. But today I'm really excited because this is what I've been waiting for. This is really what I've been waiting for. This is what we've been waiting for a very long time. Get a chance to speak about college football, get a chance to speak about some NFL football. But initially right now, I wanted to start in the college rankings. Okay. So college football's AP top 25 did come out. Do the top 25 teams returning from this year and starting. Of course, the top five, what you have is Alabama. Alabama and Georgia were in the finals last year. Stetson Bennett, Kirby Smart got a chance to raise their first college football championship years against Alabama last year, beating them in the college run national championship. Alabama with Nick Saban, with Bryce Young, they are slated number one, and Will Anderson is slated number one right now. Okay, so that team is ridiculous. Ohio State, this is my entire life I've been an Ohio State supporter, an Ohio State guy. Dream school altogether. Ohio State comes in number two after their impressive win against Utah. Cameron Rising, but with CJ Stroud, Jackson Smith, and Jigba, Marvin Harrison, Emeka Udoka, they have a number of guys on that team that are ready to just show out this year. And of course, I cannot wait to see them this year as we go. And of course, Trayvon Henderson is one of the best running backs we've seen since Ezekiel Elliott at Ohio State. He's ready to show out. This is going to be incredible. I cannot wait for that team to actually start suiting up. And they're coming in number two in the country, which is like really high, position right now. But they definitely deserve it, as they're going to be playing Notre Dame, who's number 5 in the first week. And we'll get into obviously all the matchup very soon, all the matches that we have in the top 25 in a short bit as we get to going through there. But we have Alabama number 1. No surprise there. They're slated to win right now. They're the favorites by far. Ohio State, you got Georgia number 3, as Stetson Bennett has come back, proven core wide receivers have come back. Defense and a number of players did go to the NFL, but there's still some guys that have stepped up. That team was so dominant defensively last year that they're gonna be good again this year, even though they have new players in the mold and the fold coming in. You got Clemson with DJ Uiagalelei, Dabo Swinney. This is the year they have to show out again. They lost to NC State last year. They lost too much last year. This is the year where they have to show out. And they're number 4, number 1 in the ACC. They're going to come out and then looking for something to prove. We got Notre Dame at number 5. New head coach, right? Good head coach, of course. Don't get me wrong. They're going to be solid as they go, but they have a really tough time going forward. Okay. And that's going to be something that we're going to see fairly soon with them. They're number 5 as we go. I'm going to go top 10. Texas A&M, of course, Coach Fisher, Jimbo Fisher, has a really, really good team coming back. They have the best recruiting class in the nation going in. They're number 6 right now. Probably could have been a little bit higher. I personally would put them above Notre Dame. Utah, Cameron Rising, that team almost beat Ohio State in the Rose Bowl last year until Cameron Rising got injured. They're up pretty much 3 touchdowns, and there's a miraculous comeback in the Rose Bowl from CJ Stroud, Jackson Smith, and Jigba, who had the single best receiving game of all time in that game last year. Just one of the best games I've ever seen in my life. If you have not seen the highlights for that game, if you have not seen that game at all, go back, watch Ohio State versus Utah in the 2021 Rose Bowl. 2022 Rose Bowl, as it was in the new year. We got Michigan losing Aiden Hutchinson, who was number one draft picks in the NFL draft last year. You got new guys in the fold. You got a proven, we do have Harbaugh, who's back with that stout defenses. They are going to be looking to prove a lot coming this new season. They're number 8. Got Oklahoma new coach coming from Dabo Swinney's lineage, right? Defensive coordinator going to Oklahoma as the head coach. They're at slate at number 9 right now, which I believe is really, really high as a quarterback, their best receiver. All went with Lincoln Riley to USC, who are in the 14th spot. So once again, Oklahoma number 9, Baylor 10 after winning the Big 12, doing a really good job last year. You got Oregon, Oklahoma State, NC State, and then USC. And the reason why I bring up USC is because USC, the college football is better when USC is at the top. When the Canes are at the top, Miami Hurricanes, and I think my boy Justin, you would like that. When the Miami Hurricanes are up there, when the USC is up there, of course, we had the likes of Reggie Bush, Matt Leinart. You can go down the list all the way down to OJ Simpson when USC was the top of the top best team in college football for many years. With a number of, Pete Carroll was the coach there for a certain amount of time. He's dominated in college football now, obviously coaching the Seattle Seahawks and being successful there, Russell Wilson and whatnot. But USC has been at the top of college football for years. And last year, the past 5-6 years, they've been irrelevant, practically irrelevant. Now we get a chance to see them in the 14th spot because Lincoln Riley did take a major contract to leave Oklahoma, go to USC in Southern California, take their quarterback, Caleb Williams, who's a standout, now sophomore quarterback, was standout rookie quarterback, standout freshman, taking the job from the likes of Spencer Rattler, who was slated to be a Heisman candidate last year, got his job taken away from him by a freshman. That freshman, along with Mario Williams, who's one of the best receivers in college football as a rookie last year, going to be a sophomore just with Caleb Williams as well. He's coming out. He's in the USC. They brought a number of defensive guys there. They recruited really well. The overall morale when it comes to recruiting, when it comes to college football, Southern California has so much talent, right? You have Mater Dei, which is always number 1 high school football program in the country, always. That the likes of Matt Barkley, you have Matt Leinart, who's went there. You have Amon-Ra St. Brown, who's on the Detroit Lions. You have a number of guys. Bryce Young went to that school as well, too. Bryce Young was a Heisman winner last year, right? So you have a number of guys that have gone to that school in Southern California, but they've tended to not stay in the Pac-12. They tended to go to Big Ten schools like Ohio State, like Alabama and SEC, because the SEC and the Big Ten run college football now, especially in a few years when you have USC and UCLA join the Big Ten. It's going to be even more madness, right? You got the SEC with Texas, Oklahoma joining the SEC fairly soon. So all these conferences, you're going to see probably 2 conferences that are going to dominate college football, dominate the college football playoff, just because money's being thrown around. There's so much nil money, name, image, likeness. Players are earning a lot of money going forward. From the moment they step on campus, they can earn up to 6 figures. The game has just definitely changed overall, and it's going to be exciting. We have a lot of guys such as Miles Brennan, who's player at LSU, quarterback at LSU, backed up Joe Burrow, who obviously went to the Super Bowl last year, a Heisman winner, just all around legend in Louisiana. Miles Brennan, the quarterback, now starting quarterback, is supposed to come back, got injured last year, was out the entire year. He decided a few days ago to step away from football. He just decided to step away from football, but he made over $40,000 from name, image, likeness. Probably more money than that altogether. It's probably not being shared overall, but he made an incredible amount of money for that, and he decided to walk away. So name, image, likeness, players are going to schools where they have more interest from boosters, from schools able to pay them from the moment they step on campus as an 18-year-old, as a 17-year-old, even if you get early admittance, right? If you reclassify, you can be there as early as 17 years old, 18 years old, right? So they're getting paid initially. A lot of people are speculating that the hunger to get to the next level is not going to be there as much, but it will be there. They're going to want to grind and want more guaranteed money because you can't live off of strictly nil money for your entire life. But there you go. You can be a staple in a certain city or in a certain area, and teams like Texas A&M, teams like they even went after Jackson State, who of course, not Debo Samuel, Deion Sanders, the head coach for, are paying players to come there. But there's a lot of speculation. The NCAA at some point are going to have to handle exactly what's going on, because it is getting out of hand, the amount of money that's being thrown around, and you can't necessarily monitor the money that they're getting as well too. But there's a lot of speculation that a lot of players were getting paid years before nil money actually was a thing. So we never really know exactly what the real deal will be and exactly what that is going forward. But I did give you the top 10 thus far. I'm going to give you some scenarios of what we have, right? Just to break down some teams and exactly what we will see, right? And number one, right? 13-2 last year. Coach Nick Saban said it was a rebuilding year for Alabama. A rebuilding year of 13-2. You make the SEC championship. You win that game against Georgia. You play them in the national championship. You lose that game in the national championship. And Nick Saban, who's obviously the most successful coach in college football history, said it was a rebuilding year. And that is true. Bryce Young was a second-year player starting his first year after Mac Jones and Devontae Smith won that championship the year before. Both going to excel in the NFL right now, but that team literally just not losing. You had a number of players in that team. You had Devontae Smith. We've talked about this before on my podcast, the First 10 podcast. You just had talent around Jalen Waddle, who's a stand-up player on the Miami Dolphins, coming from this Alabama program. All right. So Alabama does have the best player in college football, and he's a linebacker. He's not even the quarterback. Will Anderson Jr., he leads that ferocious defense. Will Anderson Jr. could have left last year, went to the NFL, and would have been top 10, would have got guaranteed at least $20 million. But he opted to come back to school, go for that national championship with the likes of Bryce Young, who's, once again, a modern day alumni, Southern California alumni, Southern California player in this offense with Nick Saban, who is undoubtedly the GOAT. They just need some offensive linemen. I think they're going to need to kind of shore up there. They did get a lot of players in the portal, which is pretty much the college football portal, where guys can opt to go to the portal and try to transfer transfer portal to go to different schools. They've gotten a number of different receivers from different teams. One guy from Texas A&M is going to be really good as well too. So they have more talent around them too for this year to go for that national championship. And this year, Bryce Young, who will be a junior, Will Anderson will be in that year as well too, junior as well. He will. They will both be going to the NFL, and they will both be big time players at the next level as well, right? Because of their discipline, because of the way they go through the progressions, and Nick Saban just has them playing at a very high level. So Alabama undoubtedly are the favorites this year to win. I don't see anything changing unless there are some major injuries, but we never wish for injuries. But Will Anderson might be. He could have got the Heisman last year. I think this year is probably his year he gets it because he's a monster. So Ohio State. This is the best offensive team in the nation, bar none. Okay, you have the likes of CJ Stroud, another California kid who did not go to USC, going to Ohio State in the Big Ten. Jackson Smith-Njigba, a guy from Texas, going to Ohio State. Both, they're going to be CJ Stroud will be pretty much a sophomore this year, and of course you have Jackson Smith-Njigba, who's going to be a junior. They will be the number one players in the Big Ten, bar none. Jackson Smith-Njigba are going to get double teams, he's going to get a lot of different looks, but at the same time, they have the likes of Marvin Harrison Jr. And if everyone knows football, if you watch Peyton Manning with Reggie Wayne, there's Marvin Harrison Jr., who is just a breakout runner, just a deep threat galore, really smart, an absolute monster with Peyton Manning in that offense in Indianapolis with the Indianapolis Colts. His son is a lot bigger, stronger, has really good hands, and he's just destined for greatness. So they got Marvin Harrison, they got Emeka Udoka, another guy that's out of Texas. You have Trayvon Henderson, who's the running back. The offense is by far the best offense in the league. In all of college football, you'll see. And the first game they have is against Notre Dame. They have a new head coach, new quarterback. They're ranked number 5, which is really high. I see Ohio State beating the brakes off them in that first week in September, that opening week in September, as we see. So you got Trayvon Henderson, who's a running back. You got tackle Paris Johnson Jr., who's going to be a high draft pick going forward in next year in the NFL draft. The defense was not great last year. It's because they had a lot of guys go to the NFL. They had a lot of guys injured, and a lot of guys were young. But Ryan Day grabbed the coordinator, Jim Knowles, from Oklahoma State, and they're paying them around $2 million a year, and they're going to be improved on that side of the ball. Bar none. They're going to be improved. It's going to be great. Kirby Smart, who's out of the Nick Saban tree with Georgia, number 3. I'm only going to talk about the first 5 teams and we'll get into some scenarios. He has Stetson Bennett coming back. He has his old quarterback who won the championship last year, trying to do it again. they're under 6 year 6 year quarterback Stetson Bennett. This is a 6 year. It's going to be another year where he's incredibly experienced. It's going to be something that's going to be incredibly great for them. But they won't be incredibly historically as great as they were last year on defense. Okay, because you had the likes of Mike Dean, you had Jordan Davis. A lot of guys go to the NFL, but you can still have a really good year altogether. And they do get Oregon in the opener, who was a top 12, a top 15 team, but it's going to be tough, right? Because the first 2/3 of the schedule is tough. I do not see them necessarily getting back the championship because I think Alabama's too talented. I think Texas A&M is too talented, and of course Ohio State is too talented too. Other than that, Michigan is coming back. You have JJ McCarthy. He's going to be really tough to beat out of the quarterback job. He's a really good quarterback. You have a great team, great defense again that's coming back in the fold. The September when they play Ohio, they got the chance to beat Ohio State last year for the first time in Jim Harbaugh's entire career at Michigan because they had the likes of Aiden Hutchinson. They had the likes of a lot of just a really stout defense, some great players on offense as well too, and that's really what it comes down to. Utah now top 5. They do have Cameron Rising, who is a great quarterback in Utah. They're bar none, they're very, very good. Very good the entire year, and I think they're going to be really good this year as well. Got running back Tavion Thomas, who's incredibly talented as well too. And this is the Pac-12's best hope of returning to the college football playoff because you have them in a top 5 spot. But it'll be hard because in the Pac-12 it's so up and down. You're playing different teams out of conference. It's going to be incredibly, incredibly tough. And I'll have one other team that I'll talk about as a honorary team that we'll get into, and that's Clemson Tigers. Okay, Clemson Tigers, the likes of having Trevor Lawrence, Amari Rodgers, Travis Etienne, all of these guys that were incredibly talented, did not really lose too much in their tenure at Clemson, beat Alabama in the finals, lost to LSU in the finals in the last year when Trevor Lawrence decided to go to the NFL. Now the Jacksonville Jaguars with Travis Etienne. They lost Brett Venables and Tony Elliott from their staff going to Brett Venables is now the head coach of Oklahoma, but the defense is going to be different. But DJ Uwangalele is a phenom. Okay, I know he had a really tough year last year. He looked at his receivers down. He stood in the pocket too long. He was under constant pressure. He couldn't really get out of the pocket. I think he slimmed down this year. His arm is the strongest in the nation by far. And this is his year as a sophomore to shore it up and have a great year going forward. Okay. Up front, they need to have a really nasty defensive unit. They do have some talent up front. Of course, you have Brian Bryce, who's a first-round talent, bar none. He's the best player coming out of high school a few years ago. Of course, you have Miles Murphy as well. And, Bryce are going to be really good. They're both NFL talents. They have to come together. Receivers have to catch the ball. They're ranked right now, currently at number 4 after Georgia. They can get back to the playoffs, but they have to win each game decisively. You can be an undefeated team or a team that's played really well and still not get into the playoffs because the voters in the NCAA, the voting committee has to vote you into the championship round. And I don't think the championship is going to change anytime soon. It may change in the future, but I know right now it's not going to change at all. Okay, but there you have it. Just giving you a little preview to the NCAA season. I can't wait for the NCAA season because it's just the best show. And every week is like a playoff game. You have to win your matchup every week, even if you're playing against tough teams, playing against teams that are you're much more superior than. You have to be able to handle yourself and be able to win handily in certain environments. And of course, I see Ohio State going undefeated. I see Alabama going undefeated. I see those two teams ending up in the championship. And I see Ohio State winning it. But I have my doubts because the defense is not that great. Ryan Day has to make sure his guys are physical this year. It just needs to happen. And that's what I'm looking for this year to happen. Texas A&M is going to surprise a lot of teams. Jimbo Fisher is a great coach. But USC too, Lincoln Riley in the fold, the best offensive mind in the country, bar none. They got Caleb Williams. They got a good defense. They got Mario Williams, who just watch out. Caleb Williams and Mario Williams, you have to watch out for those guys to be incredible this year. Okay, they're going to be great, and it's going to be interesting to watch because they're in the Pac-12 currently right now, but they are going to be in the Big Ten in a few years. They need to play well because they need to recruit well as well too because you have Lincoln Riley in the fold. You have all the no money. You're in Southern California. Who's to say no to Southern California? They're going to recruit a lot of guys now since they have the best coach in the land, and we'll go from there. But Ohio State, Alabama, if you have any doubts, or you think anything differently, please let me know. Find me on Twitter at Graham_JB, on Instagram at G_JB. This is Truenorth.Bet, NFL, CFL, NCAA football podcast. All right. Superflex Sports, you already know what it is. I'm your boy, Brandon Graham. This is the Truenorth.Bet CFL football NFL show, NCAA show. Cannot wait to get into a lot more, guys, really soon. And we'll be on our way to go from there. But this is me, Brandon Graham, signing out. Keep balling. Enjoy the NCAA football. Let me know if you think I'm wrong. Let me know anything. I cannot wait to get into some more. And we'll get into it very soon. Keep balling.